Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. So with the confirmation that Skarbrand, the angriest boy around, is the legendary Lorn for the first Khorne faction that we'll see, and curiously enough no legendary heroes either, I've been thinking about all the possible Khorne characters that could eventually arrive in the Total War Warhammer series via DLC or FLC. So I've had a look through a lot of different books and I've picked up a list of a decent amount of possible characters. Now, before anything, I'm not necessarily saying that all these characters should fall under Khorne. Some of these characters, if they ever get implemented, could also help the vanilla Warriors of Chaos faction or even Norsca. So without further ado, let's begin, and keep in mind that these are in no specific order. We'll start off with a well-known character known as Karanak, which in all honesty I expected to be announced with the roster reveal. Karanak is a particularly special fleshhound of Khorne, as not only does he have 3 heads, but he is also Khorne's favoured puppy. Lore describes him as the absolute perfect hunter, and that his kills are Quicksilver perfection. This is a demonic hound that prowls not only the Chaos Realms, but also the mortal planes. He is apparently feared by many different cultures, as when his howl is heard, many mortal men know that death is only just a few moments away. Karanak was always a very popular character and has featured over a decent number of different Warhammer franchises. If he ever does get implemented, I believe he will naturally be with the standard Khorne faction, as it makes sense to have him around other demons. And as a battlefield role, he's likely to be a legendary hero, because, well, he's a dog, so I don't imagine him being able to bark out orders. Next up, we have eaglesterbion. This character had no official model, however he was relatively well liked due to his appearance in the Knight of the Realm novel. In fact, he was fairly commonly referenced in Bretonnian lore because this warrior knew when to take a fight. He was a Norscan High Jarl, referred to as a chieftain nowadays, and a champion of Khorne who liked to fight more than anything. The character himself had also received many blessings from Khorne, 2 of which being his demonic weapons, which were named after 2 of his own bloodhounds. Many people have been wanting this character to make an appearance, and in fact he has been modded several times into the Total War franchise. Often he leads hordes of Norskans, and if he ever gets implemented directly, then this would also be the case too, as this character actually leads a tribe known as the Scalings. We are all very much aware of the Scalings, as they are a very large Norscan tribe which can be found throughout both iterations of the campaign map. And should Norsca ever get the fabled rework that Creative Assembly were hinting at, well, it's likely that this character will be the legendary lord for the Norskans, and it makes a lot of sense. It would be also very interesting if future content for the Norskans brought some god-touched lords rather than Chaos Undivided like Wulfric or Throg. Though that being said, there is another Norscan option, Hargrove the Blooded. This character technically had an official miniature, but it wasn't really a miniature. It was more of a official White Dwarf conversion, as this character was actively always pushed by Games Workshop to the fanbase to make conversions of certain characters back in the day. It was kinda like this thing where Games Workshop actively liked kit bashing. Hargrove leads a tribe known as the Greyling in northern Norsca. They are a minor-ish Norscan tribe, but what made this character so well known was the fact that he did feature around the time of the Storm of Chaos. As back in the day, that was the original end-time scenario, and Archaon the Everchosen had 4 devoted Chaos champions, Hargrove being the one that represented Khorne for the powers of Chaos, and it could be possible that we'll see him instead of Eagle. While the Storm of Chaos is no longer canon, the official artwork and the official kit bash basically gives the character something very unique about it. He's also got a lot of background lore which puts him up to a potential DLC versus the Lizardmen in the future, if we get a full world map of course, because if not then that would be too much for the Lustriable. Let's move on now to Sylar Finngrim, a rather interesting character, mainly because it is a Chaos spawn. a former champion of chaos in life, and then horribly mutated into this hulking monstrosity. Sylar is one of the very few chaos spawns which have some sort of sentience, whereas the others are more mindless, hulking monstrosities more than anything. His transformation into chaos spawn was not the punishment it generally always is, as the Blood God had seen a lot of potential in this character and blessed him to be far more bestial than he was as a normal mortal. The character himself is fairly ancient, fighting in the armies of Asavar Kor and then later in the armies of Archaon the Everchosen. His lore has changed over the years, but it's always kept more or less the same. He wishes only to spill blood for his blood god and collect their skulls, and he does that very well, having travelled to the lands of Araby and slaughtering as many as he could, even slaughtering some Chaos Dwarves too. Though given the fact that he is a Chaos spawn, I doubt that he would be leading any armies in this point of the timeline. Instead, should he ever get implemented, he would probably be implemented as a legendary hero. And I think that he could work rather well for either the Chaos Warriors should they want to expand that roster more, or generically into the Khorne roster. It really depends. We can't have this list without talking about Skulltaker, and it's really strange that we didn't actually get him for the original roster launch, because Skulltaker is such a famous character. He is not so much a bloodletter as he is a demon prince, a character which has, well, a very, very impressive kill count, travelling across Great Plains, mortal or immortal, just to collect skulls in the name of Khorne. He has killed Bretonnians, ogres, elves, Neacarans, even other demons. What makes this character truly special is that he is a duelist, a very potent one at that. He will go and seek out worthy enemies and challenge them to one-on-one combat. Skulltaker is known to be a demon who employs a lot of tactics and focuses on honorable forms of combat rather than doing anything to get a win. Something like that is extremely rare when it comes to the forces of chaos, but not so rare that it's unheard of. Originally, I'd often seen Skulltaker as a potential legendary hero, mainly because we all kind of thought that the Heralds of Khorne would then be heroes too, but now that the Heralds are at the Lord option, and given that Skulltaker is often represented to be some form of bloodletter, this makes a lot of sense to make him a legendary lord for the Khorne faction. Arbal the Undefeated is a character that I've been wanting for a long time now, a rather interesting character as he was born long before even the birth of Sigmar. This character is incredibly ancient, and the lore states that he had been fighting foes for as long as he was alive, but eventually he grew tired as no one was worthy enough to fight him, and that he rode into the Plain of Skulls to challenge Khorne himself. He was not seen until many years after, in the Great War against Chaos, and even then, he disappeared after that and returned during the time of the End Times. What made this character truly unique is that he rode atop a Fleshhound of Khorne. Not only that, but it's stated in the lore that the Fleshhound he rode upon was that of the Blood God's very own Fleshhound. Should this character ever get implemented, it would make sense to add him as a legendary lord for the standard Chaos Warrior option. As we already have Sigvald for Slaanesh, it would be nice if we ended up getting a legendary lord representing all of the Chaos Gods in the Chaos Warriors faction. Valkyr the Bloody also has to be mentioned on this list, because if I didn't, I'm pretty sure some of you would lynch me for it. A mighty champion of Khorne who worshipped the Blood God with such devotion that eventually saw her rise to that of a half-human, half-demon hybrid. She is often referred to as a demon princess, however, it's stated in the lore that she is able to stay in the Warhammer Fantasy world and does not have to return to the realm of Khorne, so I wouldn't state her to be a demon princess, but rather demon kin. This is a character which is extremely devoted, as I stated before. In fact, even the temptations of Slaanesh could not make her sway her mind. She is often referred to as the Gore Queen or the Bride of Khorne, so if she ever gets implemented, I think that she'd be best served as a character for the generic Khorne faction, and could be an interesting legendary lord if they find a way to put a DLC versus the Dark Elves. We'd have to wait and see, but she's too big of a character and way too requested to be ignored by Creative Assembly. Next we we have Gridal, a exalted demon and great Norscan chieftain. The fact is, this character never really had an official model, and he was referenced very loosely in lore, only in 6th edition and I believe 7th too. However, it's very important to note that he, as an exalted demon, is more of a demonkin or a demon prince than anything else. He was once mortal and is not a full demon. His character has very little lore too, which focuses around a long line of Norscans which would make a bargain with the blood god, mostly through their ancestor who was also a demon prince. Now, he didn't have an official model as stated before, and all that you can see on screen is the only bit of official art that he actually has. Paired with his lack of lore, he wouldn't really be a good legendary lord for either the Warriors of Chaos, Demons of Chaos, or Norsca, though he might make an interesting legendary hero for Norsca, as currently Norsca has none, and it would just be nice to have one included. Better him than a well-known character, which would then take away a possible legendary lord slot. Now, before we end this video, we do have 2 characters to talk about, 2 of which from the end times, and yes, Creative Assembly said no end time stuff, but you never know for the future. Sometimes some opinions change, and they might be willing to bring in some stuff just to give some extra flavor. So let's start off with Bloodrath, a demonic champion of Khorne and chieftain of the Scattermore tribe. If you saw my missing units video, you would already be similarly acquainted with him, as he is the leader of the Skull Reapers and the Wrathmonger units, so he's already got some possible units to tie him into a possible Lord pack. But what makes this character truly special is that he can't die. Well, he can, but he keeps getting brought back. Think of him as a very, very angry Deadpool. In his mortal life, he had impressed the blood god so much that he was showered with gifts and blessings over and over again. He and his warriors found no interest in fighting the peoples to the south, as he often found them weak, so instead he travelled through the Chaos Wastes ringing the bells in Khorne's name. This is a character that can be brought in to have a Khorne versus anyone else in the Chaos Pantheon DLC, as he is focused around killing the demons of other gods, as he sees them to be more of a challenge essentially. There's no grand scheme about it, he just wants to kill stuff which is gonna be fun to kill. I mean, he's just pretty cool, there's not a lot of lore, but then again, it's more about the visual, imposing, and unique look. Something like that is truly special, and as I stated, the end times are really part of Warhammer 8th edition, so there's no reason not to add him in, as in lore, technically, he existed long before the end times. And now, lastly, we have Kabunda, and I'm really only adding him through pity. As it stands in the lore, he elevated to the highest position any demon of Khorne can have after Skarbrand was, well, exiled, because, yeah, he went insane. This is a character which is said to be above Skarbrand in status now, and he had a lot of large armies. Not only that, but he's been featured in multiple different parts of Warhammer franchises now. The main reason I'm mentioning this character is very simple. There are a lot of different Bloodthirsters that were named throughout the lore, yet only 2 of which, Skarbrand and Kabunda, had this high elevated status. If they're going to add in another Bloodthirster in the future, it just makes sense to add in Kabunda and be done with it. It just makes no sense to add in any others, in all honesty. Though I'll be very, very honest with you, I don't think we'll see another Bloodthirster Legendary Lord, as there are a few different options that you have here for mortals and demonkin and so on, so Bloodthirsters aren't really that well needed. Though in my opinion, it's better to mention at least one Bloodthirster instead of, well, all of them. But what do you guys think about the missing characters? I know there's a lot of characters implemented in the lore, though these are the ones that either had official models or a lot of lore to go about them, which would make sense for not only the baseline Khornite faction, but a legendary lord or hero for Norsca or the Warriors of Chaos. If there's any I've missed that you feel should be included into this list, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, but I think I've covered pretty much everyone. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.